My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey gang, welcome back. As we're recording this, it's still early days, 2026. We're at the beginning of April, and chances are you recall not that long ago when the wildfires went through California, when they affected Los Angeles so immensely. It was like an apocalyptic kind of thing going on there. That wasn't that long ago. So now it's time for the rebuild. And today our special guest, zooming in again, Bronson Hill, knows all about that. So Bronson has a ton of experience in real estate in general. He's done lots of stuff with multifamily. He's raised gazillions of dollars for different kinds of deals. But what we're going to be talking about today is something that's near and dear to his heart because he's based in LA himself, and that is the rebuilding of Los Angeles. So Bronson, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Dave, good to see you again, man. It's always good to chat real estate. It's always good talking with you. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, my friend. So before we jump into LA, maybe give people who aren't familiar with you a little bit of an overview of who you are and what you do in the whole real estate space.
All right. Well, I'll begin with a young boy in a dream, and I'll give you the long version. No, I was a well-paid medical sales professional, making over $200,000 a year. Wanted to learn about passive income. Started investing in real estate. Started raising capital for real estate. Raised over $55 million now for different projects. We've done 2,500 multifamily units. We shifted a few years ago because we saw with the higher interest rates, cash flow slowed down a lot in real estate. So we shifted to do a lot of other things such as oil and gas, both in drilling or land ownership. We've done some debt funds. We've done some new developments. We've done different types of projects and some VC stuff as well. The author of this book behind me here, Fire Yourself, became an Amazon #1 bestseller in real estate. It's about passive investing. And really what happened, I was a little over a year ago, January 2025, the fires came raging through all of a sudden, and I'm about a mile and a half from where they hit. And we left our house, and we didn't know if we were coming back to a house. It was just like it was a really scary feeling. And so came back, my house was fine, thank God. My whole neighborhood was fine. But, I have a bunch of friends that lost homes or a lot of displacement and stuff. So in the area we live in, there's two main fires over here. One was the Palisades fire, which is near the beach. And that one was the larger fire. And then some of those were, $2 $5 million mansions or big homes. Where I live in Pasadena, Altadena is more of a kind of a working neighborhood, whatever, and up near the mountains. And there was about 4,000 homes that were burned there. So I started saying, what can I do to help? I started, between ChatGPT and learning about stuff. I learned about prefabricated and offsite built homes that, as I was sharing with you, these are homes that can be built for about half the cost. They're built in 7 days in a factory. They work them down an assembly line. I've been through multiple factories and seen it, and then they install them in one day. And these are not tiny homes, and these are not temporary. These are permanent 2,000-3,000 square foot homes. They use 2x6 construction, R21 insulation, and they appraise for about retail value. So it's really a hack. I mean, when you build a house, at least in California, you have on average 22 subcontractors. Yeah. This one, basically the same guy in the factory who's doing the electrical or the plumbing, he does it every day. He does it on the same one every single day. And it's all built there.
It's a production line.
It's a production line. It really is. And I wonder someday, will it become like the Tesla factory where it's an automated production? Just crank these houses out there. But so anyway, it's pretty exciting. So we're just in the process now. We're after a long period, we're getting ready to make offers. We're actually making offers now. And we're hoping to get some stuff under contract, both to do ourselves, have show units to help people rebuild that couldn't afford to rebuild because of the cost. And we're also maybe considering doing that with investors as well.
Do you mind if I ask a few questions about this? Because it's early. That's fascinating. My God, think about that. A house built in 7 days. What's the typical length of time it takes to build a house in California the old-fashioned way? Do you know?
It takes a long time. I mean, it depends. It just depends how quick the builder is, but it usually takes about a year. And then the other thing too, it's not just the building cost, Dave, it's the permit time.
Yeah.
So, they have these things called revisions where they'll go back and say, we don't like the plumbing here. We don't like the door or the electrical. Well, the nice thing about these manufactured or prefabricated, we have in our mind, what we think these look like from like a metal box or something from 50 years ago. They're so advanced now. They're so modern. And so, but the way it works when they leave the factory, they're actually pre-approved at the federal and state level. Wow. So in the US, they basically so all they do when they look, California is notoriously known for just taking forever for permitting. It should take about 4 weeks. So it doesn't take very much time. And the reason why is they look at your layout of your property and you say, okay, this is going to go here, or here's where we're going to place this. And they just simply say, okay, well, that looks good, because they don't really have a say in what you're actually building. Do you have the certain setback requirements? What's the grading of the land? Where are you putting the sewer or whatever? There's basic questions about it, but it's not a lot of these revisions where you go back and forth, which can take a lot of time. So it's much faster to get permits and it's much faster to build. So we're pretty confident that within 6 months of submitting plans, we should actually have a finished product.
I would think so. Yeah, definitely. Hey there, if you're a capital raiser, a syndicator, or a fund manager, and you're looking for a steady flow of incoming accredited investor leads, then go ahead, grab a free copy of my new book, How to Get 20 Accredited Investor Meetings Every Month Without Cold Calling, Networking, or Chasing People. You can get that at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Again, that's the number 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. So questions that come to mind would be, number one, there's got to be a ton of work involved getting rid of the old, whatever's left of the structure. Then there's the old foundation. Then there's grandfathered whatever's with older properties that might not have fit today's nitpicky criteria. How much work is involved in just prepping a site to get it ready to put one of these things on?
It's a good question. So there's several different answers to that. One is, if you have a house that's there, you have to demolish the house. You've got maybe asbestos to deal with. You've got all kinds of removal stuff.
Well, they burnt down theoretically, right?
Right. So if everything's burned, so what happened is when everything burned down, you had the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers came out and basically took 6 inches of dirt off of the top. They literally just took it away, and because there was some potentially hazardous material in there, all this stuff, so they took it all away. So, and they took other flammable, other things away. So basically there's really most of these places, there's no foundation. There's just nothing. There's just a flat, empty space. Really? Wow. But the interesting thing is it has had a house there before. So from a zoning perspective, you don't have to go through entitlements. It's already zoned, everything. And then from a utilities, everything, that's already there as well. So it's actually much easier. Mm-hmm. Obviously you have to deal with the layout and what you're going to do, and you got to place new things, but it's kind of nice because a lot of these are pretty blank canvas type, properties, which is nice.
So I'm not familiar with that. I mean, I've been through there, but I don't remember. So most of these houses, do they have basements? Do they have kind of heavy duty foundations? What are we looking at there?
Yeah, so in LA, we don't do basements. I think the reason why is because of earthquakes, and there's a couple. I think if it's earthquakes and maybe there's another reason with. I think that's the primary reason. Okay. Some people do wine cellars, but in general, there's really no basement. So these were typically 1 or 2 level lomes that were just sitting on a flat foundation. So we didn't really have that to deal with, but
much simpler. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. All right. So you've kind of laid the groundwork for this. Where do you see most things happening? Are you buying these now vacated properties from insurance companies, from the owners themselves? How does that side of the business look like?
So about half of the people have submitted plans to rebuild. So a lot of people are planning to rebuild. There were a lot of policies, and people read a lot about this, where the insurance was canceled the summer before these fires. And some of that had to do with the insurance companies, but a lot of it had to do with the state. California finds a way to just mess everything up, where they said for insurance companies, you have to insure, if you're going to insure, you have to insure everybody. You can't just insure the low risk, you got to insure the higher risk, and you can't raise your rates on the higher people. It was some limitation. So the insurance company said, well, we can't manage our risk there. We can't manage, it's just the way you're running this is not going to work. So a lot of people are just uninsured. And so it's really unfortunate for a lot of people that they didn't have, some people didn't have insurance, or if they did, they were underinsured. And so for this would work really well for somebody who's underinsured. If it's the average price per square foot, and of course this varies vastly around the country, but here people are being quoted $450 to $650 a square foot. In the Palisades, it's more like $800 or $1,000 a square foot. So it's much higher, but this stuff we can do for less than $300 a square foot. So it's much cheaper to be able to do it. But I think for someone to be able to rebuild, they've got to have resources or have insurance or have something that's going to pay for that. But for a lot of these people, they just don't have it. And so a lot of people are just going to sell. They've already moved. They've already gone somewhere else. They've got this property that's worth what it's worth, and they're going to sell it just because. And I think the other thing too is when somebody's over the age of 50, the thought of rebuilding a house, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of my other time. Like for you to either hire somebody and kind of try to manage that, or you to kind of do it yourself and kind of sub it. Like it's so much work to do. So that's where it's like, we want to do it. We're going to do a few units ourselves, and we're going to start helping others to do it. And we're excited about that process.
Yeah, very, very cool. So when you roll this out, where do you see the biggest bang for the buck with the business model itself?
So there's really two paths that I'm going with this. Is it's taken longer than we'd hoped. I became what's called a licensed dealer in California for these homes. So we don't make the homes. There are a couple of big manufacturers that sell 30,000 or 40,000 of these per year. Champion and Clayton are the two largest ones. And so we're a dealer. So we get pretty significant discounts as opposed to being just a retail buyer. We might save 20% or more on these units. So we have a discount there. And then also we have our own contractors, and it's called a C47 that helps place those units. And so basically there's two routes that we're going to go. One is that one issue in LA is it's been very difficult to have a demo unit, right? Because in other places where it's cheap for land, you can just put these units out where people come see them. Well, in LA, there's nowhere to put them, right? So I'm going to have one unit that I'm actually going to live in the front unit. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it'll have 9-foot ceilings with, of course, countertops and everything. And I could, I like where I live now, but I was like, well, I want to live there so I can control the tours. I can bring people in and do tours whenever I want. We'll have an attached junior ADU on the back and an ADU on the side. So what that will do is provide income. It'll also kind of show people kind of what you can do with these as well. There's a lot of different variety that you can do. But so that will really be to kind of show people that want to rebuild that, hey, we can do this for you. Here's what we did here. We can do this for you. It's one business. The other business is if we start seeing that, hey, this actually makes sense from an investment standpoint, that we can either raise money ourselves or just fund it ourselves and go do more of these, do more spec builds to sell. So again, until you build something, it's just a concept, and we're kind of right at the door now. We've got they've got the lender stuff. It's just kind of working through the final stages, but we've got a couple of counter offers. We're working on getting our first piece of land and doing it. So yeah, we're working on it.
That is fascinating stuff. So Bronson, the factories that you mentioned, are they in state? Are they in California? Or are they somewhere else?
Yeah, they're in state. You can order, there's a factory we were talking with that's in Idaho. The problem with going 900 miles though is just that you get some wear and tear on they charge you per mile. So it's kind of like we've got a couple factories. One is about 2 hours north of LA, and one's about 40 minutes south. And so there's a couple. There's several different ones around. There's different competitors that can, but you can find what you like. I like the idea of multi-units and doing other things on one property. And then they have an ability too, if you get a big enough lot in California, you can build. And then after a period of time, you can split the lot and you can build more. So that's also very interesting to us as well. So there's kind of multiple different avenues, and we're kind of pursuing all of them.
So are the ADUs prefab as well?
Yeah, they're prefabricated as well. And again, they same thing. They build them in 7 days and lay them down in 1 day. And these are, you can do, a 1-bedroom, you can do a studio, you can do I think the one we're probably going to do is a 2-bedroom, and it'd be about 700 square feet. And so, it's, and that should rent in Altadena for about $3,000 a month. I think the junior ADU should rent for about $2,000. So just another way that you can have multiple units that you can rent and just, be able to have more there. Make better use of it. I would
imagine the city's keen on that, getting the density back up.
They are. Yeah, they want it for sure. Yeah.
Fascinating. Very, very cool. All right, Bronson. Well, we're kind of wrapping things up here, but what other exciting plans do you have for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, we have a group, actually. I invited you to it as well. We have this group called the Wealth Forum, which is for high net worth investors. We have most people are 10 to 40 million net worth. Some are above that. Some are, just accredited above a million or 2 million. But one of the things I found is that after speaking with over 2,500, high net worth investors, everybody's pitching something in finance. Myself and yourself included. We all have a deal. We all have a service. We all have something we're kind of offering, and it's hard to get kind of unbiased feedback or to get peer feedback. And so that's where we found that we get people in the room that are saying, hey, I want to talk about money, because most people that have money don't want to talk about money. And also, hey, I'm interested in alternative assets. And so we get people in the room that say, hey, I've been working with this group for 10 years and they're incredible. And I would never work with these guys because, I've had a bad experience. And so sharing that peer network, somebody who's in the same place as you doesn't really care. They're not financially motivated one way or the other. And so we found it's been really, really great to have those conversations. And sometimes we get into a lot of things about how do I raise my kids in a way that they're not spoiled, or I'm 6 years old. I have a high net worth. What's next for me in life? What do I want to create for myself? So some of those conversations are super powerful. And so we do that. We're doing our next meeting June 25th and 26th in Newport Beach. So if someone's interested, they could reach out on that. But that's one of the things I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. Bronson, if people want to connect with you, find out more about you, where should they go?
Yeah, thanks. So the best way, I have a free giveaway for your audience. I have my 3 favorite cash flow investments. I mentioned we're doing some non-real estate things that produce cash flow, which I think is awesome. I think when you get things that cash flow, they're great. So if you text the word cash flow, all one word, cash flow, to the number 33777. So the word cash flow to the number 33777. It'll ask for your email to send you that free report that we did for 2026, my 3 favorite cash flow investments.
Fantastic. And you got a darn good looking book there behind you. Remind us about that and where people can get that.
Yeah, so that's at Amazon, just called Fire Yourself. And happy to share that with anyone.
Awesome. Bronson, thanks so much for being on the show again.
Thanks so much, Dave. Always great to see you, brother.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.